If you want to be a doctor, you need to go to medical school. If you want to be a financial expert, you will, without doubt, benefit from going to business school. But do you really need university for something like art? If you're thinking of ever going to art school, I suggest that you watch this whole video because most likely you have no idea what you're getting into. How do I know this? Because I honestly had no idea what I was getting into. I actually watched a lot of videos like this where people were talking about their experience with art school, and I didn't really pay attention. I thought my experience will be different, and that was a big mistake. So please pay attention. This video might save you thousands of dollars. First of all, I'm sharing my experience, and experiences are subjective, so do take this lightly. It may not be your experience, and that's okay. So first off, I think asking yourself the question, should I go to art university, is the wrong question. If you like art and you want to study art, that's great, but you should focus a lot more on what kind of art university you want to go to. You have to choose very carefully. I picked my school based on ranking and because I was offered to skip the first year. I was accepted into the top university called University of Arts London, and I thought that it was obvious that I should go. But I realized throughout my 3-year course that it was totally different from what I had imagined. First, I'm going to talk more about my negative experiences, or what I didn't like so much. Number 1. Low technical and academic standard. When you get into a top university in any field, you expect things to be difficult. You expect challenge, you expect a busy schedule, and you expect to improve in whatever area you're studying. If you watch my videos, you know that I believe that it's extremely important for anyone who calls himself an artist to have technical skill. Not necessarily theory, but know how to draw well or paint well. Of course, that involves theory, like understanding contrast, color theory, and etc. But what's most important is having hands-on experience with art. What I was always taught is if you want to be an artist, you need to learn the basics: construction, composition, figure drawing, learning how to work with different mediums. This was not something that I learned in my painting course. We had a few workshops that were optional, like learn to draw with charcoal, but in the end, you didn't really learn much. There was also a lot of students who entered the university without really knowing how to draw or paint very well. And during the classes, they weren't really taught that. So if you look at the technical progression of many students' work throughout the 3 years, a lot of it doesn't really improve, technically speaking. And I think that's very unfortunate because the students that do want to improve their work, they're not really pushed to improve. So maybe you don't believe much in having technical skill. Maybe you believe that creativity and concept is what actually matters in art. You still need to be challenged. This leads me to my next point, which is low academic standard. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of work. We had to write a few essays, prepare some presentations, but we always had more than enough time to do it. There was one paper I wrote. It was a 13-page dissertation on Orientalism, but I got a whole semester to prepare for it. And there were many students who were so stressed out about their dissertation. And I was just thinking, you have a whole semester to write a 13-page paper. It's way more than enough time. But I think because the art culture nowadays revolves so much around feelings, the administration of the university validates people's low character. And that makes them accept their laziness. I know that this is a very conservative viewpoint, but you simply cannot lower the standard for everybody if just one person doesn't reach it, because then the quality of the work collectively decreases. If people are not pushed, they simply won't produce their best work. Number 3, the teaching method. Honestly, there was no direction at all. I was actually lost for the first few months because our tutors were not giving us any topics or any direction at all of what to paint. It was basically like, do whatever you want, and then we'll have a group critique where we'll tell you what we think about your work. I thought it was very passive. I didn't need to go to art school to have a group critique. I believe that the teaching method needs to be a lot more intentional, especially the first and second year of art school, because most people go in without really having a clear idea of what they want to do and what they want to focus on, and they need to be guided in order to produce their best work. There's very, very few people that know exactly what they want to do, especially going into university. And because the students weren't guided in building an art career, upon graduating, a lot of students still feel very lost. And either they don't know what they want to do or they don't know how to do it. There was a lot of graduates that would say, well, I'm going to go back home and stay there for a while, I'm going to work a normal job, and there was very few students that were actually having exhibitions in galleries. Not because they were taught this at university, but because they were very self-motivated and they managed to figure it out. Now, once again, this is very subjective. I know you might be a student who went into art university or are going to art university knowing exactly what you want to do and who you want to be. But generally, that is rare. I saw a lot of students being anxious because the direction for the semester was literally do whatever you want to do. Just prepare a file to document your work. Not to mention, a lot of these students are paying big money for their degrees. I recognize that I would have benefited much more from classical training, something like the Florence Academy of Classical Art. But unfortunately, I recognized this too late. So now I'm going to talk about the positives. Believe it or not, there were positives. Number one, the city. I benefited greatly from the city I studied in, which was London. London has a lot of great opportunities for emerging artists. I was able to participate in many events hosted by the university and outside of the university, which exposed me to a lot of networking opportunities. I actually think, having traveled a bit around Europe, that London might be the best city in all of Europe to start off your art career. Aside from the hundreds of museums and galleries that you can visit to get inspired, England and the UK is a country that's prospering financially at the moment, which isn't true for all European countries. So there's actually a lot of opportunities for young artists. Almost every neighborhood in London has their own art group that organizes an art fair every once in a while and gives ways of exposure and actually selling your work. On the other hand, competition in a big city is very high, so you have to have a lot of confidence and determination because you probably won't get noticed right away. Number two, the tutors build confidence in you. Now, this is tricky. I'm from Russia. In Russia, teachers generally use negative reinforcement to help you improve. So they will point out everything that you are doing wrong. And yes, this can be very discouraging, especially if you're not used to it. However, at UAL, the teachers are very supportive and they use positive reinforcement, which means they encourage you a lot. The critiques are not really critiques, they're actually encouragement sessions. I used to really look forward to the critiques because I already knew that my tutor is going to say great things about my art. And then will give me a few suggestions like continue making great work, maybe move on to larger scale pieces, but there wasn't a lot of criticism. And that's when I really discovered the beauty of positive reinforcement. It makes you feel good about your art, like you're doing something valuable, and it makes you want to make more and do even better. However, I think positive reinforcement does need to be balanced a little bit with negative reinforcement. Otherwise, as I said earlier, you're not really pushed or challenged. But I think this is another topic that has to do more with Western and Eastern teaching methods. You see this nowadays with China and the United States. China produces some of the best athletes, some of the best musicians, through strict learning methods that include a lot of negative reinforcement. The US, on the other hand, produces some of the best businessmen and innovators using positive reinforcement techniques which encourage creativity. I believe artistic training needs to be a balance of both, because you do want to train the best artists, technically speaking, but you also want them to be innovators and to be creative. So, is it really worth paying for a degree? Can you get the same quality education and opportunities for free? Totally. But the benefit of a university is that it keeps you accountable and accredits your work. But if you're disciplined and self-motivated and you know exactly what you want, going to university may be more of a formality. I'm certain that you can achieve a great art career without actually going to art school because I've seen other people do it. Alternatively, I've encountered people at university with very low character and low determination that would ask for extensions out of poor management skills and then complain about how heavy the workload is, even though it really wasn't. In the end, university is a privilege, but you have to make it count, as anything else in life. I definitely think that any pathway related to art is a lifelong pursuit, and you cannot draw quick conclusions based on one-time experiences. It's a personal journey and it's unique for everyone. The most important thing is to do what you're passionate about and also do your research. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video was helpful to you. Please let me know in the comments below if you went to art university, what was your experience, or if you're thinking of going, and subscribe to my channel to support me so I can make more videos like this.